Yashar and thank you for the sponsorship. We'll say with that, let's begin. Tan Rabbanon. We'll say another brayso. So remember again, we were introduced yesterday to the concept that when Beis Din has to sell off property belonging to Yisomim, orphans, and belonging to Hekdish, then halacha l'maisa, we go ahead and we announce the sale of that property for some defined amount of time. Continuing again in that same sugya. Tan Rabbanon, Shuma Yisom Shloshim Yom. The time, Shum literally means evaluation. So what it means is the time that we leave the orphan's property on the market is for 30 days. The Shuma Hekdish Shishim Yom. Time we leave the property for Hekdish on the market is 60 days. Div Rabbi Meir. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. So we'll say, this actually just echoes the Mishnah. Rabbi Huda says, Shum ha-yisomim shishim yom. Rabbi Huda says, no. For the yisomim, ultimately, again, we leave it on the market for 60 days. The shum hekdish tishim yom. And the time that we go ahead and we keep hekdish on the market is 90 days. The chachamim say, echad zeh v'echad zeh shishim yom. Chachamim say that both for Yisomim as well as for Hekdish, we keep it on the open market to attract bids for 60 days. Amar Rav Chisda Amar Avimi, halacha shum ha-Yisomim shishim yom. So Rav Chisda said to Avimi that the halacha is that for Yisomim's property, for orphans' property, we go ahead and we leave it on the market for 60 days. I will say important detail. I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday. I'm sure you intuitively understand it. The Yisomim we're speaking about over here are ketanim, right? These are minors, these are children. Obviously, adult orphans, so to speak, who inherit an estate, they take care of the estate themselves. This is talking about a situation where, for some reason, we'll discuss, Beis Din has to get involved with the property of Yisomim, so we are essentially acting as the apotropos. Beis Din is acting as the executor of the estate on behalf of the Yisomim. So Rav Chisda Avimi, the halach is 60 days across the board. Yosef Rabbi Chia bar Avin v'ka'amar lahashmaita. So Rabbi Chia bar Avin was sitting, he was telling over this ruling. Amar li Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Rabbi Chia bar Avin. Shishim ka'amrit o shloshim ka'amrit. Is it 60 days or is it 30 days? Amar li Shishim diyasom. Shishim. So he said it's 60 days. He said, okay, is it 60 days the Yisomim or the Hekdish? Is it 60 days for Yisomim or for Hekdish? Amarlei di Yisomim. He said it's 60 days for the Yisomim. Rabbi Meir or Rabbi Huda. Are you reflecting the view of Rabbi Meir or Rabbi Huda? Amarlei Rabbi Meir says, I'm pasking in accordance with Rabbi Meir. I v'har Rabbi Meir shloshim kam. 1 second, Rabbi Meir is just on record as saying what? That it's 30 days, not 60 days. Amarlei hachi Amar Rav Chisda me'avimi kol fi taboy baloi ala dehashmaita. This is actually very interesting. Rav Chisda said, right? So Rav Chisda was quoting Avimi, who said, I received many patches from my Rabbi regarding this particular ruling. Let's say, look at Rashi just a moment. Kulfi tabai tap Rashi hakos gidolos al hada shmaita shahaya malamdani shum hayisular meir shishim. So we'll say, so Avimi says over here, I received many patches from my Rebbe because apparently I used to get this teaching wrong all of the time. So my Rebbe used to give me, I'm sure it was a sweet patch, right? My Rebbe used to give me a patch telling me that Rabbi Meir, because I used to quote Rabbi Meir as saying 30 days, but in fact Rabbi Meir held that it's really 60 days. The Hashmaita, but so good. So it's ultimately again, so it appears that there are two different versions of Rabbi Meir as well. The version quoted above had Rabbi Meir holding that it was 30 days for Shum HaYisomim, and Avimi ultimately saying that halacha l'maisa it was 60 days. So how do we reconcile? Bala hachriz ritzufim shloshim yom. Shloshim, right? If you're willing to announce the property consecutively, then all you need to do is announce it 30 days consecutively. However, b'shini b'chamishi, if you're not going to announce the sale consecutively, but only on Mondays and Thursdays, which were market days, Beis Din days, days when people gathered, shishim. Then you announce it over the course of 60 days. So we'll say, so in fact, both are correct. If you're going to announce consecutively, it's 30 days consecutively. If you're just going to announce it twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, it's over the course of 60 days. Va'af agav And even though, again, I both say the Mondays and Thursdays over a 60-day interval will only come out to 18 days in which you are going ahead and announcing the sale. Since you are mentioning it over, announcing it over a protracted amount of time, then halacha l'maisa, people know about it. Good. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav Asi. So we'll say, so now we come back to some of these fundamentals. So now what we just got finished saying over here is like this. Shuma Yisomim, if the Beis Din has to go ahead and sell off orphans' property, halacha l'maisa, announce it for 30 days. If you're going to do it consecutively, if you're going to do, otherwise it's over the course. Otherwise, if you're going to do it twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, a duration, a span of 60 days. Nerabo say we define when does Beis Din sell off the property of Yisomim? At what point in time? In general, we have a principle. Look at Rashi. Excuse me. Look at the Gemara. Amar Rav Asi. Amar Rav Asi. Ein niskakin lenichsei Yisomim. Both say in general, this is our guiding light. We do not get involved in the property of Yisomim. Both say, what does that mean? What that means is, in general, we have a concern. Here's the following concern. We'll call it Yaakov dies, and he leaves behind a bunch of kids, Yisomim, who are minors. Now, the creditors show up, and they demand payment from the estate. The problem is, we don't necessarily know the affairs of the estate, and the orphans are children. So conventional wisdom is, we tell everyone, sorry, you can't collect until the orphans reach the age of majority, until they become Gidolim. At that point in time, they'll manage the affairs of the estate, trying to delve into the affairs of their deceased father to figure out, al-mazeh v'al-mazeh. Up until that time, because we may not necessarily know what the estate did, what the estate didn't do, we generally do not sell off the property of Yisomim, with the following exceptions. Ela imkein, haisa ribis ocheles bohem. I will say now, if let's say the deceased father, had borrowed money with interest. So the problem is, if there are interest payments that are eating up the estate, it's in our best interest to what? To pay off the debt. So we'll say in that kind of situation, Beis Din will get involved because Beis Din's involvement really is of benefit to the orphans. Rabbi Yochanan Omer Olishtar Sheish Bo Ribis. Again, same idea. A shtar document, some type of transaction that has an element of interest in it. O L'ksuvas Isha Mishum Mazoni. We'll say there's another piece over here as well. If you look at Rashi, Rashi says over here, Mishum Mazoni, the Chosman Shein Agova Ksuvasa Nizonis Mishalahem B'Havi Pseididor. But listen to this. The halacha is when a woman is widowed, so part of what her ksuva provides for is that she is entitled to mazonos, right? She is entitled ultimately to support from the estate. That support only ends when her ksuva is paid out. From the estate's perspective, it is better to pay off her ksuva as soon as possible, right? Better to pay it out, because otherwise that obligation of mazonos becomes a financial drain on the estate. So I'll say essentially what you have is as follows. You have two different opinions. First opinion saying when there's an element of ribis, Beis Din gets involved, pays off the debt because we don't want the interest eating the principal of the estate. Or second opinion, if there's a wife that is being supported by the estate and she wants her ksuva. Again, I will say the estate cannot force her to accept the payout of her ksuva. But if she wants it, Beis Din says, great, let's pay that out. This way, again, we preserve the assets of the estate. I've Rabbi Asi, my time ksuva. So we'll say, Rav Asi, who says that Beis Din gets involved for ribis, why does he not mention ksuva? Amr l'ksuvas, so the Gemara says, "My time amr l'ksuvas isha, dahatakin li rabbana ma'isi adel." Because we'll say, so Rabbi Asi will hold ksuva is not a big deal. Why? Because even though the estate is taking care of her mazonos, what does the estate get? It gets her earnings. Essentially, we'll remember again, the estate pretty much takes the place of the husband. Just like when the husband was alive, he had to provide her with mazonos. But if she earned money, that money went to the husband. Same idea when the husband dies. The estate is obligated to give her mazonos, but lemaisa, again, she has to give her maisi adayin to the estate. The Gemara says, v'idach, but yet ultimately, again, the other opinion will say, zilnin de lo savka. it is still worth it for the estate, for the Beis Din, to pay out the ksuva. Why? Because who's to say that her earnings matches the mazonos? It could very well be that which is needed for her support far outweighs the amount of money she's bringing in. Now, let's analyze this. So we'll say this is very, very, very important. Now what we've just been given is a framework. Beis Din, the general principle is, Beis Din does not sell off orphan property. We generally do not involve ourselves in orphan property. We let the orphans grow up, and when they grow up, they'll deal with their deceased father's estate, with seemingly two exceptions. Number one, if there is a debt that has ribis, because the ribis, the interest, eats up the estate, and ksuvas isha. If the wife, the widow wants her ksuva, we will pay off that ksuva in order to be able to stop mizonos payments. So Tanan, shum hayisomim shloshim yom, v'shum hahektish shishim yom, umachrizin baboker uba'eres. Remember, now the Gemara quotes the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that if we have to sell off orphans' property, so we announce the sale for 30 days. Hektish, 60 days, and we announce it in the morning and in the evening. Mayaskinan. So what's the case of the Mishnah? Why are we selling off orphans' property? So let's analyze this. If we have to pay off a debt and there's a creditor, and the creditor in question is a Gentile, who says he's going to wait 30 days? Right? In other words, we'll say, understand what we're saying. So there's a creditor against the estate. You say the creditor, okay, no problem, I'll pay you off. Just wait 30 days. No. If he's a non-meaning regard, but remember, let's work backwards. The only time we're selling off orphans' property is when? Ribis. Only person who can charge ribis is a non-Jew, right? One Jew can't charge another Jew ribis. So at the end of the day, we must be talking about a Gentile creditor. If it's a Gentile creditor and he wants his money and there's property, why? And he's not bound by the Piskei Din of Beis Din, so he's not going to want to wait 30 days. So maybe we're talking about a Jewish creditor. If there's a Jewish creditor who's charging ribis, right? Is the Beis Din going to help facilitate the payment of that debt? Chas v'shalom. Ella ve'ella delo ka'acha ribisa. So it must be that what? They must be talking about a different kind of debt from one Jew to another without ribis. V'katani niskakin. And you see that what? And you see that halacha l'maisa, Beis Din is still selling off the property. So why? What's the motivation? So according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's fine. You can start with the Mishnah is dealing with what? A ksuva. Right? The Mishnah is talking about a situation where there's a widow. The widow wants her ksuva, and halacha l'maisa, we sell off the orphan's property to pay her ksuva. El Ravasi kasha. But according to Ravasi, who does not quote ksuvas isha as a reason why Beis Din would sell off the property of Yisomim, what's going on over here? And according to Rabbi Yochanan, even for ksuvas isha, who says we sell off property? Mishaf kinan mezoni devadai kamafseda v'naktinan hachraza del yadinan imevarchinan ilam mevarchinan. Both it's actually very interesting. We are, when it comes to the property of Yisomim, we are what's the word? Financially risk averse. Risk averse. So I will say, the Gemara says something amazing. If you sell that property of the Yisomim, who says now you're going to get best price, even if you wait 30 days? See, the good thing is the mizonos is an amount that is defined. The sale price may be good and may not be good. See, even ultimately, again, to stop mizonos, who says that that's a reason to sell the property? So the Gemara says, halokasha bitavas vasa bebeis din. No. The difference of Rabbi say is once the wife claims her ksuva in Beis Din. So it's actually a very interesting halacha. A widow, is not a divorcee. It's only applies to a widow. A widow is entitled to mizonos from the estate. That's the halacha. She is only entitled to mizonos from the estate until the point where she claims her ksuva. Once she shows up in Beis Din and asks to be paid her ksuva, we take that as a sign of what? That she is ready to remarry. Right? That's generally because why else does a woman want to pay out of her ksuva? Remember again, we'll say, think about it for just a moment. It's in her best interest to get mizonos as long as possible. That ksuva, remember, the principle of the ksuva does not diminish. She could take mizonos for years and years and years, and that ksuva is still sitting there for her. So generally, again, a woman wants her ksuva payment when she wants to get remarried. Therefore, the moment she claims, she comes to Beis Din and asks for payment of her ksuva, the Mizonos payments stop. The Mizonos payments stop. To which the Shmuel, Hatavas Ksuvas Bebezdin Ein La Mizonos. Once she claims her ksuva in Bezdin, ultimately again she no longer gets Mizonos. Ihachi is da kuki lo mizdakina la. Ela kevan de az dekina le meikara mizdaknina le basof. We'll say if that's the case that she no longer has Mizonos, so ultimately again, why they need to get involved? Because ultimately again, since Bezdin was involved in the beginning, i.e. when she came to Bezdin, ultimately to ask for her ksuva, so we help her see that process through. Elokei, so the Gemara says, Miko Makom, Ravasi Kasha, but according to Ravasi, still, what's the case in the Mishnah where we will sell off the property of Yisomim? To which the Gemara says, you're right, we're talking about a Gentile creditor. But you said by a Gentile, so they both say that would be a case, therefore, of interest. But you said before by the Gentile creditor, why would he wait 30 days to get his money? Shekiba alav ladu b'dinei Yisrael. We'll say he's a Gentile and he agreed to what? He agreed to play by the rules of the Bezdin. To which the Gemara says, Ihachi ribis nami lo lishkal. Okay, well, if you agree to pay by the rules of the Bezdin, then what? Should forego the interest? Shekibel alav lazu, v'lo kibel alav lazu. Now you know what? I'm happy to play by the rules. You want me to wait 30 days? Remember again, also if you're the creditor, as long as you're not terribly cash strapped, it's also in your best interest to wait 30 days because you have the possibility of getting the greatest amount of money for the piece of property. So ultimately, again, he was makabel. I'll wait the 30 days, but I'm not going to forego the interest. Tashma, from Elamin haziburis. So we'll say the halacha is that when collecting a debt from the property of Yisomim, we only collect from ziburis, right? We'll say ziburis refers to the most inferior holdings, the inferior land. But my asking, so I'll say, what's the case? Now, what we're trying to figure out over here is, what's the situation where we are going to collect money from the property of Yisomim? Generally, again, we assume that we do not sell off the property of Yisomim. So what's going on? My asking on. So, if you tell me you're talking about a Gentile lender, a Gentile creditor, who's to say that he's going to wait 30 days before getting his payment? Rather, mostly talking about a Jewish creditor. If it's a Jewish creditor, if it's a Jewish creditor, are we going to facilitate ultimately again a ribis transaction between Jews? Rather, you have to say the cases where there's a Jewish creditor, but there's no interest involved. And yet, what does it say? V'katani niskakin. And even though there's no interest involved, again, halacha l'maisa, Bezdin is still getting involved with selling off the property of the Yisomim. So what's happening over here? So according to Rabbi Yochanan, we could set this up as we could assume this is about what? The ksuva of a woman. Ksuvas isha. El Ravasi kasha. We'll say it's the same conversation as before. But according to Ravasi, what is he going to do with this? And according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says it's good? Iksuva my irya miasmi. Right? If we're talking about a ksuva, so both say, so why do you have to set this up as a case of Yisomim? Afilu minei didei nami biziburis. Both say the halacha is even from the husband himself. When the husband pays off ksuva, ksuva is also only collectible from ziburis. Halokash Rabbi Meir. Both say that's not a problem. That's Rabbi Meir. Damar ksuvas isha bebeinanis. Ultimately, Rabbi Meir holds that when the husband is paying off the ksuva, he has to pay with beinanis, middle of the road property. Umiyasmi biziburis. But when you're collecting it from the Yisomim, that's when you collect it with ziburis. Mikol makom Ravasi kasha. I will say, but according to Ravasi, what's the case where we're collecting from the Yisomim? The olam babalchov oved kochavim. Rather, we're talking about over here a Gentile creditor. That's why I will say there's a case of interest, and that's why again it's in the Bezdin's interest. Right, it's in the Yisomim's best interest to go and have that property sold off. Shekibel alav ladu medini Yisrael, and the Gentile creditor agreed to adjudicate this case in accordance with the laws of the Beis Din. Same thing we said before. Ihachi ribis nami lo nishkol. Well, if he's willing to play by the laws of the Jews, then he shouldn't take interest either. Shekiba lazu, v'lo kiba lazu. We'll say the first of the widest lines on the bottom. He accepted for this, but not for that. In other words, meaning what? He accepted, I'll play by your rules in that I'll wait 30 days before going ahead and getting payment. But I will not play by your rules in that I will not forgive my right to interest. And I will say, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that, right? A Gentile creditor has every right to charge a Jewish borrower interest. He's not doing anything wrong. Tashma, we'll say another braysa. Amanas litin liisha ksuvasa ulabal chovo ulabal chov chovo. So we'll say another braysa that says ultimately again, we'll go ahead and we'll sell off nichse yisomim in order to pay off a woman her ksuva and in order to pay off a bal chov his debt. Bishlam a bal chov bein mar u bein mar kiddush aninan. So we'll say it's a bal chov. If it's a bal chov, we already established that. El ksuva. What about for the case of ksuva? Bishlam Rabbi Yochanan necha. Rabbi Yochanan will say who holds that payment of the ksuva of a woman is a reason to go ahead and sell off nichse yisomim. It makes sense. El Ravasi Kash. According to Ravasi, it's a question. What's the case? Kishechayiv moda. Both say the case over here is that ultimately, again, before the father died, he said to his children, I never gave my wife any of her ksuva money or any property for the ksuva, and therefore halacha, because he was modeh, therefore I will say that is something that Beis Din will go ahead and settle for him after his death as well. Then I will say what this thing is as well is very important. This is what we said before. Under normal circumstances, why does Beis Din not settle the debts of the estate when the orphans are minors? Why not? Because Beis Din says we accept the fact that we don't know the whole story of the estate, right? They will say not everyone leaves their affairs in perfect order so that it's an open book, what they paid, what they didn't pay. So ultimately Beis Din says just because creditors show up doesn't mean that the estate owes them money or doesn't owe them money. So what we do is we normally say, let the estate go into a holding pattern until the Yisomim become old enough to sort things out themselves. That's the conventional wisdom. So we've seen so far the only exceptions to that rule are where there's a creditor who's charging interest because we don't want the interest to eat up the estate, or at least according to Rabbi Yochanan, the concept of ksuva sisha. Paying off the ksuva is also in the best interest of the estate. Why? Because if you pay off the ksuva, then what? No more mazonos, which saves the estate money in the long run. Now the Gemara is saying over here is there is an exception to this. Shechayiv moda. If the father before he died admitted that there was an unpaid liability, then ultimately again we could pay that liability as well. Since there's no suffix about the fact that the obligation exists, since the father admitted it before he died. And I will say, now that you told me that, that's a great way to explain all the other cases as well. If the father, before he dies, clearly states, I have this outstanding debt which I never paid, then it would appear that Beis Din has the right to settle that up after he died as well, and need not wait for the Yisomim to reach the age of majority. Mereimar collected the ksuva payment for a divorcee. Right? So we'll say this is a case of where the father divorced his wife before his death and then died, didn't pay the ksuva. So Mereimar collected her ksuva from the estate. But we learned that in general, we do not get involved in the estate of minor yisomim, unless, of course, there was an interest transaction which threatens the principal. So the Gemara Rabbi Yochanan Omer O Lishtar Sheish Bo Ribis O L'Ksuvas Yishum Misumazoni V'Afilu Rabbi Yochanan Lo Kamer Ela Ba'amona D'Kamaf Sedemazoni Aval Grushalo. And I will say even those opinions will allow you to collect a ksuva from the estate. What type of ksuva is collectible from the estate? There was only the ksuva of who? Of who? Of an amana, of a widow. Why? Why? Because she gets mizonos. So it's in the estate's best interest to pay her off as quickly as possible so as to stop the mizonos payments. But that, does not apply to who? To a grusha. So why are you collecting the ksuva of a grusha from the estate of Yisomim? Amarle, Ha'anand Rabbi Yochanan mishum china masninan la. I will say there is another issue over here of what we call china. China literally means finding favor. Look at Rashi. Mishum china masninan la kadei shimtzu ha'anashim chen be'enei hanashav v'yinasu lahen vilchach afilu grushanan. You both say we need, or we want to incentivize marriage for women. Right? What's the concern for women with marriage? What's the concern? About her husband turning out to be a jerk. It's a legitimate concern, right? Let's say, Maisim b'chol yom. So on a serious note, what does she have to be concerned about? If things don't work out, okay, the ksuva ultimately is my financial insurance policy. And what's going to happen if my husband or his estate doesn't pay off the ksuva? So I will say, essentially what Chazal did was, they wanted to make the collection of the ksuva as easy as possible. This gives a woman a certain level of comfort, right? In the knowledge that even chas v'shalom, should the marriage not work out, right? Ultimately, she has some level of financial security. So Rabbi Yochanan is saying over here, that even though normally, you're right, we will only collect from the Yisomim if what? If there's an interest transaction that's eating away at the principal, or if it's the ksuva of an almana who's getting mizonos. Pay out the ksuva so you could save them estate money on mizonos. So apparently Rabbi Yochanan held that even the ksuva of a grusha. Remember again, this woman was divorced obviously before the death of the father. There's no mazonos coming from the estate, but mishum china. Again, when it comes to ksuva, we want women to be able to get paid out their ksuva. Therefore, the Beis Din will extract that money from the estate of the Yisum as well. Amar Rav Nachman, Meiresh lahava kamizdakna lenichse yasmi. Rav Nachman said, originally, I never got involved with the estate of minor Yisomim, which means I would never get involved in paying out their debts. But once I heard, right, the statement of Rav Huna, our friend who said over the name of Rav, Yasmi da'achli delo dido, lezel basar shavkayu. Once I heard this statement, that Yisomim who enjoy property that is not theirs should follow in the way of the one who left the property to them, which I both say seems to be it sounds better in the Hebrew, right? But what it means is Yisomim who enjoy property that does not belong to them should die the same way their father died. In other words, I both say that it is a terrible avera for the Yisomim to benefit from property which is not theirs. Mikan ve'elach nizdakakna. From that point in time, Rav Nachman said, I get involved and I help to settle the debts of the estate. Meikara my time alone. So ultimately, again in the beginning, why did Rav Nachman not get involved in settling the debts of the estate? Papa, Priyas Balchov mitzvah, paying off a creditor is a mitzvah. V'yasmi lav lo b'nei me'aven mitzvah ninu. And I will say, Yisomim are minors. So because they're minors, therefore what? They don't have an obligation in mitzvahs. But yet again, once I heard that it's a big avera for them to go ahead and benefit from property that is not theirs, I realized that it was beneficial for me to help them settle up their debts. Rafur ben Rav Yeshua Amar, sorry, Amar, Surari at B'sei. So we'll say, so says the Gemara, Rav Huna bar Yeshua said, what's the reason why in general we don't get involved in the affairs of the estate? Because we'll say, there's always the possibility that what? That the father paid off the creditors before his death. Sorry, Akbase means maybe he just gave them a bundle of money and never recorded the payment in any kind of shtar. We'll say this in general is the underlying concern we have with getting involved in the affairs of the estate when the orphans themselves are minors. Just because someone shows up and claims that the deceased father owed him money does not mean that the claim was true, or does not mean that the claim wasn't already paid. Maybe the father gave him a wad of cash before the father died. Between these two approaches, if the father, of course, nafkamina would be if the father admitted liability before he died, then halacha lamaisa, maybe under those circumstances, then Beis Din would get involved in order to satisfy the debts of the estate. Inami shamtuha umeis b'shamte. Or Rabbi said the possibility that the father owed money, refused to pay the debt, Beis Din excommunicated him because of his unwillingness to settle up his debt, and he died in a state of excommunication. If he died in a state of shamta, that's indicative that what? That his debts were unpaid. Maybe Beis Din would get involved in that case. Shalchu mitam, dishamtua umeis b'shamte. V'hilchasa kirafunu b'Rav Yeshua. And Rabbi said the halacha is like Rav Huna. We'll say, look at Rashi, last Rashi in the Avta, Heicha dolo shamtua chayish tzari. So we'll say that halacha l'maisa, if when the father died, he was not in a state of excommunication, we do have to be concerned that maybe he paid off the debt. So we'll say, essentially what the Gemara is saying is like this. Unless, of course, you know with absolute certainty that the father did not pay off the debt. Now, how would you know the father didn't pay off the debt? So far, one of two ways. Either number one, he admitted before he died that he did not pay off the debt, chayiv moda, or number two, he was in a state of excommunication for non-compliance with paying his debt. Unless one of those two things were true, there is the possibility that he did pay off the debt, in which case Beis Din will not touch the estate and will let the kids, when they grow up, settle up the affairs of the estate. There seem to be two more possible exceptions to that rule, which are number one, ribis or ksuva or mizonos, and ribis. So we'll say, so those seem to be so far the general assumption is we do not get involved with the estate of Yisomim. We'll say, because it's an incredible klal in life. Don't get involved in things you don't know about. We don't know about the affairs of the deceased father. We don't know what he borrowed, what he didn't borrow, what he paid, what he didn't pay, right? So therefore, again, under normal circumstances, we just say, kids, when you grow up, you're going to settle up the affairs of your father. So far, 4 exceptions to that rule. When the father admits liability before he died, father died in a state of excommunication for not having paid his debts. Maybe, according to some, there's mizonos, best interest to pay off the ksuva, or that there is a loan with ribis that has the potential to eat up the estate. Amud Beis. Tanan, Shumi Yisomim Shloshim Yom. The Mishnah taught us that when selling off property of the Yisomim, we let it stay on the market for 30 days. Shum Hektish Shishim Yom. For Hektish, 60 days. Umachris in Baboker Uba Erev. And we announce the sale of the property every morning and every evening. But when asking, I will say, what's the case? If the creditor is a Gentile, so why would he wait 30 days to get his payment? Rather, it must be a Jewish creditor. So what's according to Rav Huna, you can say, what's the case? It's a Jewish creditor, and the father before he died said what? Yes, I owe creditor the money. Okay, so creditor is showing up. Deceased father admitted before he died that he had never paid off the debt. So he tells the creditor, do me a favor, wait 30 days. Let's put this on the open market. Let's try to fetch the best price for the orphans. El Rapapa Kasha. But according to Rapapa, how are you going to interpret the case? Rapapa, Mishum China. Rav Papa will say, well, maybe you could set it up as a case of ksuva. We're selling off the property of the Yisomim to pay for the ksuva. But 1 second, Rav will say, but that only works for the ksuva of a grush of an amana. No, even the ksuva of a grusha. Why? Mishum China. As we said before, Rav will say we want women to feel comfortable in their ksuva, in the fact that their ksuva is secure, and therefore, again, Allah Lamaisa, we will sell off the ksuva even for a grusha. V'baisema. Bebalchov Oved Kochavim Shekibel Alav Ladun Bedine Yisrael. And the other possibility is they are talking about ultimately again a Balchov Oved Kochavim, a Gentile creditor. That's where there would be a situation of interest, and he agreed to accept upon himself that halacha lemaisa he will go ahead and adjudicate his case in accordance with the laws of the Beis Din. And therefore he'll wait 30 days. Ad the godly. So if that's the case, then if he's willing to play by our rules, so why don't we say, listen, our rules really are that we don't like to sell any property of the estate until the Yisomim get older. So if you don't mind, wait until the Yisomim become adults, and then you collect your adults, and then you'll collect your debt. To which the Gemara says, Shakibal alav lazu, v'lo kibal alav lazu. Right? The Akum only has so much patience and willingness to play by our rules. I'll wait 30 days. I'm not going to wait a couple of years. Tashma, Another brayso. Almanas litin leisha ksuva, so lebal chov chovo. So we'll say you can sell off the property of Yisomim to go ahead and to give a woman her ksuva and to pay off a debt to a creditor. But I ask you, and I'll say, what's the case of the creditor? If you're talking about a Gentile creditor, mitzayis. So we'll say, why would the Gentile creditor wait 30 days to get repayment of his debt if technically speaking he's entitled to get it right now? Rather, you must be talking about what? A Jewish creditor. So it's according to Rav Yehoshua, he'll talk about what's the case of the Jewish creditor, where ultimately the father before he died said what? I owe money. I admit, the father admitted that he owed money before he died. If that's the case, chayiv moda, when he dies, you can pay off the debt. El Rapapa, but according to Rapapa, Bishlama Ksuva Mishum China. So I understand why we could go ahead and sell off the property to pay for Ksuva because of China. Right? We want women to feel secure. Ela Balchov Kasha, but what do you do about the case of Balchov? The Olam Balchov Ovid Kochavim. Rather, we're talking about over here the case of a Gentile creditor. Ukigon Shekibal Alav Ladum Bedini Yisrael. And the Gentile creditor agreed to adjudicate his case in accordance with the laws of the Beis Din. So again, if he's going to play by our rules, then tell him the rule really is that we wait until the orphans become adults before selling off property. He accepted it for this, but not for this. I'll wait 30 days. I'm not waiting a couple of years. Rava says, Mishum Shover. Abba say, now listen to this. Rava says there's another concern. Look at Rashi. It's the last white line of Rashi, Mishum Shover. Shema Shover Hayalavim Alashtar Hazeh Sheparov Yisomim Ein Yodin Hechanu. So Abba say, comes along Rava, and he says there's another reason why we do not sell off property of Yisomim. There's another reason why. Maybe the father paid his debt, and he has a receipt to back up his payment. But what? The Yisomim, these are kids. They don't know about the paperwork of their father. So let them reach the age of majority, let them grow up. They'll go through their father's papers, and they'll find the Yisomim. So Rabbi said, Rav is giving us another reason in general why, under normal circumstances, Beis Din will not touch the estate. Our job is to preserve the estate until the kids get old enough that they could delve into their father's financial matters, and then they'll sort everything out. Because just because a creditor shows up and says, you owe me money, maybe the father paid, and maybe the father even has the paperwork to prove that he paid. Do we assume that halacha l'maisa, that ultimately, again, a person has a shover, a person has a receipt showing that they've been paid? Now we learned, hanifras shelo befanav, lo tifra ela b'shvur. This is an interesting case. If someone wants to claim, I will say, Rashi is the following case. Reuven divorces his wife, right? But he decides to send her the get in the mail. Okay, right? So he's overseas, he sends her a get in the mail. Okay, with a shaliach. So no problem, she says, okay. She shows up to Beis Din and she wants to collect her ksuva. So what's the halacha? Because her husband is not present, so what's the halacha? In order for her to collect her ksuva, she has to what? She take a shavua. Swear. What does she have to swear? She has to swear that she's never been paid after ksuva. We'll say second wide line, Chav Beis Amud Beis. V'amarav achas sarabira. Ma'isa balafni Rabbi Yitzchak naf yelan tochya. There was once a case that came before Rabbi Yitzchak naf yelan tochya. V'amar lo shem elak suvas isha mishum china. The only reason, ultimately, again, we allow a woman to collect her ksuva just by taking a shvua is because of china. Because again, Abba say in general, we want to make the collection of the ksuva possible and as easy as possible for the woman. Aval balchov lo. But Abba say halacha l'maisa, this will not work for a balchov. Under a balchov, if you will say, if I claim that Reuven owes me money and I show up in Beis Din, what will Beis Din say? What will Beis Din say? Wait till Reuven gets back. Well, we're not going to adjudicate this in the absence of the alleged debtor. So the Gemara said, "Rabba Amar Nachman afilu balchov nami," and Rabbi said, "Nachman, even a balchov, if I show up in Beis Din and I say Reuven owes me money, Reuven's overseas, Beis Din will say, okay, take a shavua, and then we'll let you seize assets of Reuven. V'chayish l'shover, and I will say, if you're going to tell me that there's, well, what about the fact that maybe Reuven already paid me, and maybe he has a receipt that says that he paid me. So hasam nami nechosh. Then how could Beis Din allow me to take a shvua in Beis Din? Take money from Ruvain when Ruvain's overseas. Maybe Ruvain has a shover. Both say there's a different concern over here. You have to have some type of mechanism for collection of a debt, even if the debtor is not here. Why, Rabbi say? Because think about this. Right? Otherwise, the debtor could what? Skip town. Rabbi say, can you imagine this? If there's no mechanism for collection of a debt, if the debtor is not present, every single person who wants to could borrow enormous amounts of money, right? Resettle somewhere in the Caymans, right? And suddenly again, collection becomes impossible. So if Rabbi say, just mishum tikun olam, right? You have to have some type of mechanism. Amar Rava Hilchasa, so Rava says the halacha is ein niskaken lenichsei yisomim. Both say the halacha is in general. This is the general principle. We do not involve ourselves in the property of yisomim. Both say father dies, children inherit the estate. In general, what we say is we go into a holding pattern until the yisomim become of age. When they become of age, they'll figure out the estate, and we don't get. We tell the creditors, you're just gonna have to wait. V'im amar tenu niskakin. But ultimately, again, I will say this seems to be the case where what? Where halacha lemaisa, if the father said before he died, I owe money, if he admitted the debt, then halacha lemaisa, Beis Din will pay off the debt. Sadazu, manazu, niskakin. If the father said furthermore again, that field, that doesn't belong to me, that belongs to Ruvain. That money, it belongs to Ruvain. Same thing, Rabbi say, then Beis Din will get involved. Ve'ein ma'amidin apotropos, and there's no need to appoint an executor of the estate. Beis Din handles it themselves. Sadas tam umanas tam. If the father just says, I owe a field to Ruvain, or one of the fields as well, it belongs to Ruvain, but he doesn't identify which one. Certain monies, but he doesn't identify what. So what's the halacha? Niskakin, Beis Din gets involved. Uma'amidin apotropos, and Abba said they will appoint an executor. Amin Ardoi. Then Ardoi said, Bekula niskakin uma'amidin apotropos. In all of these cases, Beis Din will get involved, and they will go ahead and appoint an apotropos. Rashi says, Afilu sadazu umanazu. Right? The Nardoim are just saying anytime Beis Din is going to get involved, they're always going to appoint an executor. Right? Beis Din does not. They always appoint an executor. Levad minim says sada she'ino shalo. We'll say except if there's a case where it's clear, everyone knows that one of the fields in Ruvain's estate does not belong to him. Because if there is eidos that the field doesn't belong to the deceased father, we assume witnesses are not lying, that will dispose of quickly without even an apotropos, without an executor. Amrav Ashi, Hilchach, as the kuki lomedastkinan. The ha Amarava, Hilchasa, ein niskakin. But I must say, still, under general circumstances, the principle we operate with is, barring any extenuating circumstances, halacha l'maisa, we do not get involved in the estate of Yisomim. We let them grow up, and when they grow up, they will settle the affairs of the estate. But when we do have to get involved, mukminan apotropos, we always appoint an executor. Damri nardoi, bekulu niskakin u'ma'amidin apotropos, because that's nardoi. So anytime we get involved, we always appoint an executor. Levad minim says sada she'ino shalo. Unless, I will say with the one exception is when it's clear that in Ruvain's holding is a field which does not belong to him. Because in that case, if you have witnesses who testify that the field is not his, we do not assume that the witnesses are lying. So if we bring this all together, what we have is as follows. Halacha l'maisa, under normal circumstances, the halacha is that when Ruvain dies and leaves behind minor orphans, right, orphans who are minors, generally what we say is, don't touch the estate. Leave it alone. When the kids get older, they will deal with it. Except for the following exceptions. If there's a debt, if there's a loan with ribis, we pay off the debt. Because ribis ultimately, again, runs the risk of eroding the entire estate. Right? Ksuva, we will pay out. We'll say, who's ksuva? Who's ksuva? Anyone's ksuba. If she's an almana, we'll pay it out because it's good for the estate. We stop mizonos. But even if she's a grusha, we'll pay out the estate. Ultimately, again, mishum china. If it's clear that there's stolen property, or it doesn't have to be stolen, but if there's property that does not belong to the deceased, because we have witnesses to that, we dispose of that immediately as well. Kishechayev modeh, if the father before his death admitted the debt or admitted that certain properties are not his, we will also go ahead and take care of that debt. But Rabbi say we pass like that in our dam, namely that what? that unless of course you have witnesses who say that field did not belong to the deceased, it belongs to so and so, which is explicit and clear. All of the other cases of collection, which we talked about, again, ribis, ksuva, chayev moda, sadazu, manazu, we pass like that. We said, you appoint an apotropos, you appoint an executor, ultimately to deal with the affairs of the estate.